Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Ask Amanda Anything. These are my weekly bite-sized videos where I address and answer your questions about resumes, cover letters, and job search strategy. So today I am answering a few questions that are all about resume formatting as well as the ATS or applicant tracking system. So the questions that I have are, what are my top formatting tips for resumes? Second question is, how do I format my resume for the ATS? Third question, are your, meaning my, resume templates ATS friendly? And fourth question, should I save my resume as a PDF? So let's start with question number one, my top formatting tips for your resume. So I've got 3 tips that I think are basic but important. So the first tip is I would keep your resume in black and white, okay? You may have seen like some creative style resumes online that seem fancy and attractive and use pinks and shades of gray and a headshot, and I don't recommend doing any of that. That is really best suited in the creative career domain, and basically we want to stick with a black and white, pretty plain resume in terms of that type of formatting. Headshots are really not necessary. I don't like to give anybody the opportunity to discriminate you or have kind of implicit bias used against you, either because of your appearance or your weight or your race or ethnicity. So I think that leaving that out is important. So first one, black and white. My second tip is to keep it to 2 font styles and no more. So you can use different fonts that are complementary in a way to differentiate headers from body text. So in my templates, for example, the name at the top as well as the titles for each section are all in one font, and then the body of the resume is all in a second font. And I do that stylistically. They're very readable fonts. They're friendly to the eye, and there's not too many. It's not confusing to the eye from a design standpoint. And the third point about formatting, which is also particular to font, is to keep it size 10 or 11 point or bigger. Not like really big. You don't want like large print during the body of the resume. You can do that on the header. But in terms of the body of the resume, I wouldn't go any smaller than size 10 font, because that means that it's going to be really hard to read, and it probably means you're trying to like cram in a bunch of stuff to get it to one page, in which case you need to look and make sure that everything that you've included is valuable. And if it is, go to 2 pages. You have my blessing. Or you have a lot of fluff or extra words in your resume, in which case be discretionary and like pull those out. Okay, so those are my top formatting tips. The second question was about the ATS, or the applicant tracking system. And if you don't know what that is, if you apply to a job online, especially through like a third-party career website or a hospital website, chances are those organizations are going to use a computerized software that scans your resume before it gets to a human. So it's going to basically use artificial intelligence to scan your resume and give it some sort of ranking. And sometimes there's a cutoff. So like they'll only allow resumes that achieve a ranking score of whatever they've set to get past the ATS and go to a hiring manager. And this is because online applications, as I've told you, get a huge volume of applicants. So they do this because people are not superhuman, and there has to be some way to sift through the applications so that the actual humans are spending their time in the best way possible. And really the best way that they spend their time is interviewing and hiring, not scanning through thousands of resumes. So this serves a good purpose, but it concerns many people. Many people are very fearful. How do I get my resume through the ATS? The first thing is you need to be qualified for the job. For the most part, you don't have to hit every single qualification, but you need to try to hit at least 50% of the qualifications that have been listed on the job posting, because This isn't like some sort of way that you need to sneakily get past the ATS. You need to first be qualified for the job, because that's one of the things that the computer is going to read. It's going to match the keywords of their job description of what they want in an applicant to the keywords in your resume. So that's what they mean when they say keywords. So if this is an oncology position and they want someone who's chemotherapy certified, it better say in your resume, if it's true, somewhere that you're chemotherapy certified, so that can match. Okay, so it's like a big game of matching. So that's the first thing. Please be somewhat qualified for the position, because even the best resume can't make you qualified, or can't get you past the ATS if you are not qualified, if you don't have the minimum qualifications for the job. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is send your resume as a PDF. Okay, unless you've used a very, very, very simple plain text Word document, meaning like no font changes, no columns, nothing, like literally just top to bottom basic resume information, you can send that as a Word doc. But anything else I would send as a PDF, because the ATS doesn't like columns, it doesn't like text boxes, it doesn't like anything stylistically inside of a Word document. It really gets confused, and it's going to put your information in wrong places, and it's just not a smart way to do things. I always recommend saving and sending your resume documents as a PDF regardless, even if you're emailing them to someone, not only to preserve the format, but also you don't want anyone to alter your stuff. So just go with a PDF, and that is the safest way to go. And the third thing for the ATS is to spell out your acronyms. So let's say you are a nurse with a BSN and you've only put BSN under your education section and the date, but the job description or the applicant tracking system keyword that it's looking for is Bachelor of Science in Nursing. There's a chance that you might not match because you included the acronym and not the actual spelled out word, right? Or like, let's say you are a registered nurse and you've only put RN on your resume, but they want to see the words registered nurse because that's how they've coded the job. So I recommend putting both the acronym and spelling it out if you have the space, so that you don't kind of lose any points for having the acronym and not spelled out, or vice versa. Okay, so that's the ATS tips. Save as a PDF, be qualified for the job, and spell out your acronyms. Questions about my templates in my resume shop, which I'll put a link to the shop in the description of this video so that you can browse. My most popular offering is the resume template bundle, and that includes actually more than 6. It includes 8 designs. It includes 6 of my traditional, nicely designed resume templates, and it also includes a bonus training all about the ATS, as well as 2 ATS specific friendly resume templates. So if you use the regular, like nicely designed ones, if you save as a PDF, you will be good to go. If you want that extra layer of protection, if you are extra concerned about the ATS, then you have not only a training, but 2 bonus templates to use inside that bundle so that you can use that as well. What some people choose to do is if they're applying online, they'll use the ATS friendly template, but then they'll also put their information in one of the nicer designed ones so that when they go for their interview or, they're uploading the attachment, they have kind of the nicer designed one as well. It's really totally up to you. I give you the option inside of the template bundle. And then the last question was, should I save my resume as a PDF? And hopefully you heard earlier that I emphatically recommend that you do this because 2 main reasons. The first reason is, however you're sending it, whether you're attaching it to email or applying online, if you send as a Word document, you risk that any sort of formatting that you've done can be messed up on the user end because you don't know how that person is going to be opening that file. So just as an example, recording on my iPhone, if you send me a Word document to my email and I open it on my iPhone, iPhones don't really aren't super compatible with Microsoft Word, right? So if you've ever tried to preview a Word document from, your email app on your phone, it looks kind of funny. But if you save things and send things as PDFs are almost like high quality photos. If I send a photo to you on your phone or on your computer or wherever, that photo's not going to change, right? Like it's not going to be edited in any way because it's a photograph. And a similar rule applies to PDFs. So whether I send it to you and you're looking on your phone, on your Mac computer, on your PC computer, whatever, a PDF is going to look the same. So that's the first reason to save and send as a PDF. The second reason is because I'm a stickler about privacy and kind of intellectual property and the maintenance of your documents. And I would hate for someone to get a Word document of yours and alter it in any way. Not that I see that happening frequently, but I think that it's just a good practice to be in. Anything that you don't want modified or that contains your kind of sensitive or intellectual property, don't send it as a Word document because then it can be modified and distributed in ways that you don't want. So keeping things as a PDF is a good way to preserve that. So hopefully this has been helpful. We talked about my top formatting tips for resumes. We talked a little bit about the ATS and kind of my best tips for optimizing your resume for the ATS. We talked about my resume templates and how I address the ATS situation in those. And then, of course, the answer of should I save and send as a PDF will always be yes in my book. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ask Amanda Anything, and I will see you next week.